So Nir, really appreciate the opportunity to sit down together and have this conversation today, and especially excited off the back of the conversation we're just having off camera a couple of minutes ago, because I think it's going to be a really, really insightful and interesting topic and topics that we'll explore. To begin with, perhaps you could just give a little bit of a background as to your upbringing within the business world and the journey that you've gone through to your role and the exciting work that you're conducting at floLIVE.
Great, thank you very much for taking the time to discuss today. So basically, just a little bit about myself. I started my career as a software developer, and I had the honor to be located in remote locations like China for 1 year, and then 6 years in Geneva in Switzerland. So I did have the opportunity to see more cultures and how things are being handled in different parts of the world. In 2007, AT&T acquired the company that I was working for, and I became part of the AT&T international organization. I went back to Israel to lead the AT&T Israel team and becoming the CEO for AT&T in Israel for like 4 years. And then in 2020, at the beginning of 2020, I left AT&T to join floLIVE. And the reason was because while working for AT&T and seeing some of the customers' needs, I realized that there is an opportunity to make something slightly different with regards to how organizations connect their things to the network globally. And when we say things, we refer to anything from scooters to trackers to cars to robotics to machinery, irrigation systems, all different things that are not human that require connection to the network. And we realized that there is a real market need to connect them in the right way. We can talk later on about what the right way is to the network and to manage them for our customers. And that was the basis for the foundation of floLIVE. Actually, floLIVE was founded 3 years before I joined. And the founders of floLIVE took together very important pieces of technologies because they realized that these might be needed for building what we have today. And when I joined, we shaped the strategy of the company, and we'll talk about the strategy and identifying the customer's problems and building the strategies through that. And we delivered our first product in 2021, and since then we are growing quite nicely.
Fantastic. And let's take one step back just to your role or roles at AT&T. What was it like for you to cut your teeth and to learn your trade or really grow as well within the organization within such a large scale company? Did you have exposure to a lot of different components of the business, many different functions? How did your role change whilst you were there?
Yeah, so first of all, AT&T is an amazing school, very good corporate culture, very ambitious organization. So it was really a great experience for me to stay there for a while. My organization, I had like 1,300 people in my organization, and our job was really to find areas for AT&T where we can build or help building solutions that will differentiate the AT&T services for their customers, that will deliver value-added services to customers of AT&T globally, mainly for the enterprise customers of AT&T, not only, but mainly for the enterprise customers of AT&T. And running in my latest job at AT&T, it was about understanding customers' needs and thinking about creative, innovative ways to solve them. That was really our ticket. Our ticket was to find innovative ways to help customers more and more. And that was amazing because, first of all, we've seen many different angles of customers' needs and different solutions we could apply to solve their needs, obviously using technology. And the idea was to find the cutting edge technologies to solve real customer problems. And that's really the focus of everything that I've been doing since. Understanding customer problems and thinking on how technology can solve their problems. So that was the role in AT&T. And later on, when I joined floLIVE, that was the leading theme for us to go to market.
And that, ostensibly in this type of conversation, we we'll talk about strategy, and we'll talk about building strategy and executing strategy. But as you said, what sits at the core of absolutely everything, no matter what the business is a real understanding of what are the visceral challenges, what are the pains for customers, whether those customers are an individual or an organization, and ultimately how do we solve them. That's the overt need. However, it's very, very difficult to uncover it and uncover it effectively. So what are the approaches that you found, whether at AT&T, whether within floLIVE, for really getting to the heart of what are the pains that customers have? What are the jobs to be done, as some people say, that we ultimately need to help them to overcome?
It's a very good question. I think it's about having the discipline to speak less and listen more, and come open-minded to conversation with customers, and getting the hints from customers of what the pain points are. You know, you can always build a story for yourself. You can take a piece of technology, and think that it's great, and then build a story, and then go to your customers and start pitching your story and hope that they will take it. But some companies are doing it, and maybe even successfully. On the other hand, you can think of where you believe you can deliver value using technology, but not have your story 100% written, and then go to customers and listen to them, and then fine-tune your story based on the customer's needs. Maybe it's a fine line between the two versions, but the second option is basically an option that builds itself around the customer's needs, and not trying to take your thoughts and your own ambitions and put them on the customers. So I believe that our job as leaders is to sit with customers, is to listen to customers, is to educate the organization to be very minded to customers' requests and be very flexible in solving them. You know, sometimes customers or my employees are asking me, what are we going to have in our roadmap in 18 months? And I tell them, I don't know, but the customers know. We need to ask them, and we'll have the answers. And I think that's the way to lead things forward. And up until now, it was fairly successful, so we're good with it.
Yeah, and it's very interesting, because I think whether you look at customer-driven innovation from an academic standpoint, and you speak with individuals who have built organizations or lead organizations successfully, and they go about it in a very academic sense of understanding customer needs, building the job to be done, and so on, or whether you look at a startup that's grown organically, for the most successful ones, in my opinion, it's very much the latter of what you said. It's having a really clear understanding of the customer pains. And if I think, for example, of Ring Doorbell that was acquired by Amazon, it started with his clear pain for himself as an individual, which is, I'm sat in my garage conducting my work, and it's very annoying that every 20 minutes I need to go to the front door to pick up a package, as opposed to speaking to the delivery driver through a camera. So often when it's your own personal needs, it makes it even more visceral. Now, with that being said, when you made the move to leave AT&T and to move within or move to floLIVE, what was the exam question? What was the problem statement? What was the need that you were ultimately looking to overcome? And how does floLIVE solve that need today?
So we are lucky to operate in a market that is growing every year. Every day, more and more businesses around the world need to connect their things to the network to get more business value. For example, organizations that have been selling in the past water meter as a one-time sale would like to move to recurring revenue business model, and to do so they would like to connect the water meter to the network and build, for example, a web portal on top of it and sell some information to the municipalities using the water meter, just as an example. So moving from one-time sale to recurring business model requires connectivity. If you take, you mentioned the Amazon and shipments and everything, the need to track the shipment, up until it gets to the customer and all the things, it requires connectivity. And every day we have new use cases for connectivity, and the market is growing every day. And when you look on very limited area to serve connectivity, it's maybe not a very complex problem. So for example, if you only need to serve connectivity in the area of London, then it might be easy to do it with one of the local operators. But now when an organization is required to having connectivity all around the world, connect their things seamlessly, without friction, in a secure way, in a compliant way, with good performance, anywhere in the world, that becomes a complex problem to solve. And it is a complex problem to solve because the legacy solutions in the market, the solutions that have been built for many years by the mobile network operators, have taken the mobile network operators' legacy assets, legacy technologies, the roaming agreements, and tried to build a global connectivity solution for things based on these two things, the legacy platforms and the roaming agreements. And without getting into too many details, speaking with customers, you realize that there are many different needs that are not fully being addressed by this combination that we just mentioned. For example, the need for having a high-performing solution in different parts of the world. The need for having the ability to control how the data routes between the device and the network and the application. The need to control the fleet of devices globally in a simple way. They need to have a single API, single SIM card, single web interface to manage all the fleet. And speaking with customers, you realize that you need to build something different. And what we did at floLIVE, we took that problem and we tried to think without any limitation. That's, by the way, this is the advantage. Maybe that's the only advantage of a fresh startup company. You have no legacy barriers. Mm-hmm. You have no legacy technology. You have no, carryover from the past. You can start, and by the way, it's an amazing advantage. You can start from a clean paper and say, okay, that's the problem. The customers have 7 requirements they want to solve. Let's list the requirements down. Let's try to prioritize them. And now when we have the customer's problems or needs, let's call them needs, in place, in a clear, prioritized way, only now shall we go and build a solution that meets these needs. And this is what we said, okay, we understand the customer's needs. We understand the limitations of the market and the other players. We don't have these limitations. We have some advantages. What do we build? So we build a story that basically talks about 3 main pillars that are collectively creating the floLIVE differentiation. One of them is to own the entire technology stack. It sounds obvious for a startup technology company, but it's not obvious in the telecom industry. Normally the telecom providers do not own the technology. We do. The second thing was a decision to build a global infrastructure from the get-going, so not build it only in the main areas, mm-hmm. but go global from day one. And the third one was to partner with the big mobile network operators and offer them a valuable story for them to join our journey. And these 3 things together basically built what we have today with floLIVE. And now we are looking for ways to take it to the future. We're using AI quite extensively. We'll talk about it later maybe, but this is what we built. And we've seen the uptake in the market, and customers are providing us very positive feedback about what we've built, and looking for more and more things from floLIVE. So we are very optimistic.
Now it's interesting to note that you use the word story a couple of times then, and you use the word story previously as well as the word journey. And you could almost interchange that sometimes for strategy or planning. Is your use of the word story purposeful, or is it by chance?
I don't think it's by chance. I think that you must have a strategy. Your strategy must be based on, in my view, on real needs in the market. You need to be able to solve real problems. But then you need to start working on the execution of the strategy. And we are all human, and we need stories. And the ability to take the customer's needs and to build a short outline, a short story that gets people to understand what you're trying to do, even in a complex, or mainly in a complex mm-hmm. domain. And you can easily convey the story to customers, to all the stakeholders, investors, customers, employees, all of them. Tell them, guys, that's the domain. That's the problem we are trying to solve. This is how we are going to solve it, and this is why it's going to be successful. This is a story you must tell. And you must repeat the story again and again so people can relate to it and can also, if you talk about employees specifically, can see how their contribution is relevant for the story. And you need to see how the customers are using what you're using and how the story relates to them. So by taking the strategy and in a way phrasing it in a comprehensible way, you get the execution step one going.
Yeah, we think about it in a similar way sometimes, that strategy itself is almost like a pyramid. At the tip of that pyramid, you have the why. What does it mean to win? What does it mean to be successful? What's the destination we're ultimately trying to get to? The middle layer of that pyramid is the how. So how do we bridge the gap between our current state today and where we want to be? What are the big areas we prioritize or deprioritize? And at the base of that pyramid are all of the elements of execution. Tactically, how will you operationalize? How will this cascade down through the organization? So moving down through that pyramid, I think we have what you described, which is the how. How will you actually do this? But what that enables, as you described, is the why. So whether I'm an individual sat within floLIVE who is writing copy for the website, or whether I'm coding directly, or whether I'm interfacing directly with a potential customer, I understand, why am I doing this? Because it connects directly to this big priority we have. Why do we have that priority? Because it connects directly to the overriding vision of the organization. Now, all of this is fantastic, and it's fantastic in theory, but it's really, really challenging to build tangibly in the real world and then to cascade down through an organization. So how have you found, or how have you maybe overcome the challenge of initially taking a really good understanding of customer pains or customer needs, a really good understanding of which components of the value proposition will you focus on, and then transforming that into a living, breathing strategic plan? How do you go about that process?
So first of all, I think you need to have an operational plan, meaning once you understand the why, as you call it, and the where you want to go, and the thing that you want to build, you need to break it down into the different components that form a holistic plan. There is a financial plan, there is a technological plan, there is a go-to-market plan, there is a legal plan. There are many different components that first of all you need to put in place. And as a CEO, you don't have to basically go very, very deeply into each of the plans, but each of these plans must very well connect together to where you want to take the organization towards. This is number one. I'm a great believer in plans. By the way, I know that in 80% of the cases the plans will change down the stream, but it doesn't mean that you don't need a plan. You cannot work in a chaotic environment, and people need to know where we are going and what's the plan. So we are building plans for everything that we are doing. The second thing is, I think, is starting from the employees of the organization. And you know, the ability to execute on your plan is really dependent on your ability to take your team with you to this long journey, because it's going to be a very challenging journey. And what I learned about that is that people, first of all, must feel that what they do is meaningful, is going to do something important, and that they are capable of succeeding in their tasks. Meaning, if you feel like you are completely helpless with something, it only creates frustration. You need to be challenged, but you need to know that at the end, you will be able to do it because of your own capabilities and because the organization is going to support you. The combination of having a purpose and the self-conviction that you can deliver on the need creates the bare motivation that we are looking for. And then comes all the rest, you know, compensation and everything. And if you manage to do these two things, and then add one more thing, which is the culture of the organization, and to build it in the right way, then you get an organization that is pushing your vision forward. And we've been thinking about culture many times. And first of all, you need to envision with yourself and with your leadership team which culture you want to create. what are the things that are going to basically, you're going to show that they're important for you, so the organization follow. In our case, the first thing that I would say the culture is customer obsession. It goes back to the strategy we discussed before. It goes back to understanding the customer's needs. But I would say customer obsession is probably, if you ask employees in floLIVE, what would be important for Nir? The customer, customers. So that's the first thing, and that drives a lot. And then another very important thing is to have an organization that is always looking forward. What does it mean to always look forward? I'm not talking about innovation necessarily and everything, but more organization that even if you're making mistakes, and you always do mistakes, you don't look for finger pointing. Say, okay, what happened? How do we solve it? How do we move forward? Always forward-looking organization. In this type of environment, when you always look forward, try to learn and improve, and not look back trying to blame someone, you create an atmosphere of trying and doing and moving forward and not hiding and building trust. And all these components are very important on every day, but they're critical when you have problems. So this self-fulfillment feeling of employees with getting attached to the vision and with the culture of looking forward and taking care of customers always, that's what creates, I would say, the very unique atmosphere that allows people to feel that they are very important. On one hand, they're doing something important, and they feel comfortable to try and do and even make mistakes and learn and move forward. And that's for me the essence of everything we're trying to do.
I was just noting as you were talking through that we've spoken through a few areas around strategy and around planning, and really what you keep coming back to, which I think is fantastic, is people. People, whether it's on the customer side or people, whether it's internally, because ultimately we can talk about the technology that we leverage, we can talk about this system, we can talk about the process and frameworks we use to build and execute strategy, but it comes down to real people on the front lines who need to deliver on it. And I think it sounds like something that you and the organization live and breathe.
I have absolutely, and I'll give you maybe a small frame that I'm using sometimes. Sometimes my teams are coming and talking about, we need to integrate these systems with this system. It's a very complex integration, and I tell them, let's get the teams integrated. The systems will integrate themselves. Don't worry about the systems. Mm-hmm. Get the teams integrated. The technology will integrate itself. And I think that's the essence of everything. Of course, people is in the center of everything that you do. I have one flavor of it. Some CEOs are saying that the people are the most important asset of the organization. I think that the customers are the most important asset of the organization, and then come people, just to be completely honest. Mm-hmm. That's my philosophy, maybe slightly unusual. But yes, if you combine customers with your own team, and you think about these two things all the time, the rest will happen, because the customers will dictate the strategy and where you go to, and the people will drive it. So these two things together will get the company where it should be.
I want to change tack just for a moment and go back into something you mentioned earlier around strategic choices, because obviously the industry in which you play is incredibly fast moving, whether we're talking about geopolitical situations, whether we're talking about technological innovation. It's a very, very fast moving and sometimes chaotic industry. At the same time, you need to make choices, not you, but the organization and partly yourself, need to make choices around where do we go and play and where do we not play. And I'm not talking geographically, but I'm talking about industry. Is there more opportunity in automotive? We see that there's a significant opportunity in agriculture, whether it's IoT connected devices across farmland throughout different countries in Europe. So with this industry booming and growing as it is, how do you and the organization go about the process of tactically deciding where do we play and where do we not play? Because strategy is as much about what you do as what you choose not to do.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Choosing what not to do is the most important thing for an organization. The exercise is of deciding what to do next is an iterative exercise. I cannot say that it's a one action or a single process that you do that dictates your strategy forward. It starts from, as we mentioned before, it starts from understanding the customers and their needs many times, not always, by the way, but many times the answers about the next things are sitting with the customers. So you need to sit with them and you need to listen and see the trends and where they want to take things and where their needs are. But then you need to do more things. You need to also consider where you think you would have an advantage. You need to do kind of a SWOT, which we like to do, the strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats, and try to find areas where you can bring an advantage which is important for customers and you can deliver faster or better than others. That's the heart of the thing. You need to, if you bring something which is better and faster than others, but it's not important for anyone, it means nothing. If there is something that is important for many customers, but you cannot do it better and faster than anyone else, then probably you will lose to a bigger company. Differentiation is about something that you can do better than others, or you are the only one that you can do, and someone is willing to pay for it. That's a definition of differentiation in my view. And once you do the processes to listen to customers and looking inside of where the differentiation sits, and you find it, then you can go and start building stories around it. But that's the process.
No, absolutely, and I think it completely resonates. And what you're describing is the core best practice elements that are at the heart of strategic planning execution. As we were saying earlier, whether for some organizations it's very formal, whether for other organizations they just do it naturally, those are the core best practice frameworks. Now, one of the most difficult things to do is to take the strategic decisions that have been made, some of which you've just described, and to ultimately connect it to the people. And we're back to people, but connect it to the employees, the team members, potentially its investors, it may be the board, but the people within the organization. And what we've seen over the years is it comes down to clarity. Often strategy exists in a big 150-page document that people see once and then it gathers lots of dust. The second element is accountability. So often people can feel like the strategy is alongside their day job, and they have their day job and then they have the elements of the strategy. And finally, it's impact, the ability to actually track impact over time and understand, are the decisions that we've taken contributing to success, or are we falling behind? So if we think about those three elements, building clarity, building accountability, and understanding impact, and we think about it as a story that needs to be told and connected to your people, have you found any ways or do you have any insights regarding connecting those choices directly to your people?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, let's talk about the first element, and we touched a little bit, we spoke about it before, but the clarity. The clarity for me is the story that you tell, the short story that you tell to describe where you want to go. And you have in that story, you have to have the elements we spoke about before, meaning why it is important, what it is going to solve, why are we doing it? And you must find ways to get people to understand, even if it's a small thing, or even if it's more deeply technical, you need to get people to understand why we do what we do, and let people get connected to the story we're telling. By the way, in many cases, we try to tell a story which is bigger than the very tactical thing that we are doing. We are doing something for a better world, for example, and how the thing that we are doing are going to impact more broadly the universe. So that's the clarity piece and that you've mentioned before. And then I think it goes down to the impact that each team member can make, and to always show the team members how what they do builds up to the big story. That's the impact that we were talking about before. I'm a back-end developer in the team, I'm working on the performance of the system. So it means that this company that has 150,000 water irrigation meters around the world will be able to connect to the platform seamlessly because of the scalability of the platform. And now it means that in very rural, dry areas, we can have amazing agriculture like we couldn't have before. Okay, great. There is something that you're doing which is connected to the company's strategy, which delivers value to the customer, which delivers a bigger value. So I think that this clarity and impact is there. And the last thing is people need to feel that they're doing the impact, that they're responsible for it, that it's theirs. It belongs to them. It's not mine, it's ours. And that's your piece. You're responsible for this piece. Go ahead and do it. And once you make this piece successful, and you make this piece successful together, it will create something that was not there before. And that's the story. You know, it's about getting these notions to people.
What comes to mind is the phrase or the notion that strategy is always much more effectively executed when it's executed by the same people that have been involved, at least in some way, in building it. Whether it's at the top level, whether it's down through their small piece of the puzzle, if they feel part of it and they have a level of ownership and accountability, as we said before, it's always going to be better executed. I just want to ask a question on the other side of this, which is, have there been any moments, and I imagine there have been, but have there been any moments through your journey with floLIVE up until now that have posed significant challenges?
You mean this week?
Maybe this week, maybe today, maybe today.
I'm saying, of course, like every week. Yes, absolutely. Challenges are there every day. Well, you know, it's hard to compare. You know, each company has its own challenges and its own types of things they need to deal with. We are delivering a mission-critical, real-time infrastructure for customers. If our platform is not performing on a single day, the customers will immediately call and ask for answers. And that by itself is a constant challenge. On one hand, it crystallizes the importance of what we do. On the other hand, it poses a huge pressure on everyone in the team to make sure that we are doing things in the right way. So yes, we have challenges of these types. We have challenges with people. You know, sometimes they are people. You know, they don't feel well. They have other thoughts. They want to move. They want to change. You need to align people. You need to make sure that you have what you need to have in place. You have challenges with customers. Sometimes they get frustrated. They don't like something you do. You underperformed. You get calls. Every day you have challenges, and you know the secret is to be able to filter the more important things from the noise. And once you decide what the important things are, to go all the way down to the details and make sure it's solved. Looking forward to implement the lessons and get better. Because you know you cannot get frustrated with issues. If you do that, you lose your passion after 2 weeks. Challenges will always be there. As long as they can learn and improve, there is a hope.
Yeah, definitely so. And to bring it back to the customer and solving their needs, their requirements, you play, or floLIVE plays in a relatively regulated space, but also a space which is, for many organizations, many of your customers, mission critical. Mm-hmm. If for your hypothetical organization that has water meters placed all around the world, if that fails, there are huge consequences, huge knock-on effects. So I see that you have this balancing act between playing in a highly regulated, very complex, mission-critical space, whilst at the same time having the need to innovate very quickly and to leverage technological advancement. So how do you balance that need and that challenge between security, integrity, consistency in a mission-critical environment with, we need to move quickly, we need to innovate, we need to be agile because the market's changing quickly and technology is changing quickly?
It's a very good question, and it's a very hard challenge. It goes down to the team's approach. if you have a team with a can-do approach that see the next challenge or the next feature as a great thing to have, then you are able to mitigate between these two things. If you have a team that is looking on everything new that you want to introduce as a burden, then you're likely to fail. So we need to find the right people that are leading the organization, that are saying that when they come in front of a new need, they say, yes, we can do it. And now we realize that we need to do it in a compliant, secure way. But yes, we can do it. And now it may take a little bit longer to think about all the consequences, maybe a longer testing phase, maybe a more gradual implementation in the field with what is called controlled introduction. So less customers are using it at the beginning to see the impact, because not everything can be simulated in the lab. Yes, you need to be cautious, but you cannot stop. You must push forward. The only reason for companies like floLIVE to be in the market, the only justification, is that we can innovate and deliver value faster to customers than the legacy players in the market. Otherwise, everyone would go with the legacy providers. So yes, we have to do it. You need to have the can-do approach. You need to have the confidence in your team that they can deliver things and not break the important things.
And with that in mind, how do you see this space? How do you see the world of private networks or local networks? How do you see it changing and evolving in the next 5-10 years? I mean, I know you said before that it's hard to see 18 months down the line, but what's your hypothesis?
So first of all, I think that the need for connecting things to the networks is going to be growing more and more and more. So the market is here to stay. It's a very important and very big market and a growing market. This is number one. The needs that we spoke about before, like regulation, security, performance, resiliency, are going to become even more critical down the street, because more and more mission critical systems are going to rely on this infrastructure that we're building to deliver business value to their organizations. So it's going to be there as well. I think the secret sauce, if you may, or the most important thing here is to look on the requirements of the customers. And by the way, the customers have a very clear set of needs when we talk about connectivity to the network. And use the latest and greatest technologies, AI obviously now coming in, to find ways to deliver solutions to the customer's needs in a more elegant way, in a more cost-effective way, in a faster way, in a more innovative way that provides customers with more control. So the way that I see it is in the following way. We're going to have bigger networks. We're going to have many more devices down the stream. We're going to have many more capabilities and features, but primarily we're going to use the latest and greatest technologies, the cutting-edge technologies, to deliver better solutions for customers on their own problems and needs, and deliver it in a very seamless way to customers. Because customers, they don't care about your technology. They care about their problems. They don't care if you do it in method A or method B. You need to build it and get it to them in a way they can consume it seamlessly without friction. So I think that this is where we are going to be. We are going to heavily embed AI into everything that we do in terms of technology development and infrastructure build-up globally to solve the fundamental customers' needs. In our case, it's coverage, resiliency, control, security, compliance, performance, simplicity. These are the needs of the customer. They're not going to change. And we're simply going to deliver more technologies to do it in a better way and use AI to get the wisdom of the machine as well, not only our own wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Now, I don't want to take up too much more of your time because I've already taken up more than we intended, but just two last questions. And the first of the two, I want to flip the mirror a little bit towards you. So I want to hold the mirror towards you because we've spoken at length about understanding customer pains, understanding their needs, understanding their requirements. So if I hold the mirror up to you, what are your top 3 visceral challenges, pains, requirements in the seat in which you sit? What are your, we describe them sometimes as the 3 a.m. stare at the ceiling problems?
You mean from a business standpoint? You mean
exactly.
Specifically? For us, for floLIVE, because we are delivering a critical system, the operational challenge is always a big challenge. Being able to deliver consistent, stable, seamless services to our customers is always top of mind. So every day I'm dealing with it. Every day I'm dealing with how we can improve the organization to get better, more robust services to our customers. This is number 1. The second thing is where we go next and how we keep or even deepen our differentiation in the market by learning more and more about customers' needs and delivering better and better solutions to their needs. That's the second thing that I'm dealing with. And the third thing that I'm dealing with is the, let's call it the health of the organization. People-wise, culture-wise, and for me, there are many things that you deal with every day as a CEO, but in floLIVE specifically now, the future, the operation efficiency, the future, and the team is top of mind. Also, adding more team members and adding more capabilities. This is top of mind.
And then just finally, piggybacking off the back of your answer, what excites you the most about these next steps as an individual, as an organization at floLIVE, and as well as the industry? What really fuels you?
One thing, we are changing the world, and we are going to change the world faster and with a bigger magnitude. And I feel very, very, very lucky to be able to do something that has a real global impact on many different things, from shipments to health, to agriculture, to mobility, to consumer goods. We are touching so many areas in the world on a global scale. It's a privilege and it's exciting. So this is it.
Well, look, Nir, really appreciate the opportunity to speak. I said at the top of filming this that I thought it was going to be a very insightful and interesting conversation, and it very much lived up to that. So personally, from my side, thank you very much. Really appreciate you taking the time to sit down together and chat, and look forward to speaking further soon.
Thank you very much for your great questions and taking the time to speak with me today.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Nir.